And in 1995, I was in a psychiatric institution with major anxiety disorder, panic disorder, PTSD, and depression. So welcome to the conference. I'm so happy you're here.
And so I don't mean to be flip, I really don't, but it's my story and I'm not ashamed, I'm not embarrassed. It's why I'm here with you today.
I am Tami West, and that is my story. Welcome to Consider Yourself Hugged, a place to find comfort and support as you navigate your mental and emotional well-being. So sit back and relax, unless you're driving, and get ready for this week's hug. Hello, fellow hug seekers. I think that's what I landed on. It's funny, it is 7:45 in the morning here in Middle Tennessee, and I don't usually record. I mean, I am an early bird, but I don't usually record at 7:45 in the morning. So if you're watching me on YouTube, like, of course, I'm recording on my computer so I can see myself, and I'm like, wow, my eyeballs need to wake up, especially, I don't know, the time change thing and all that. So I hope you are doing really well. Last week, we did part one of why the myth of no time with self-care, or why no time for self-care is a myth. So today I'm going to review that really quick, and then we're going to jump into part two. Now, again, if you're watching me, I'm going to be all over the place with my eyeballs because I have so much I want to tell you today. Wow, I feel like I just jumped in without even like saying, hi, how are you? How has your week been? Telling you that my week has been very good, I think. No accidents, no injuries, no tripping over the dog. So, oh, I did get a new Echelon Connect bike. It's not new. I bought it from someone, used, but I can't get it to, it's like a Peloton bike, except it's a lot cheaper. And you may remember Tim and I started going to the gym in November, and we were so excited, but it was 25 minutes away, which in the beginning seemed like, oh, this is a good way to get out of the house. But when we're going to round up, right? It's like an hour. And then I started getting busier. He started getting busier, and then we weren't going. And so the only thing we really used there was like the dumbbells and the bike. And so we got this bike, and we're going to get some free weights, but I've had it for a week and I cannot get it to connect. I've even been online with Echelon. So if anyone knows anything about that, please let me know, because it has taken hours of my time. Yeah. So maybe that's one of our points today, or maybe not. I don't know. Okay. Well, that was enough. So you ready to review? Okay. I'm hearing yes. I'm seeing hands up. So last week, the myth of no time for self-care, part one. Let me quickly review what we did. I'm just going to read most of this to you. So, whoops, sorry, got to get back to where I'm actually reading. I told you I have like 5 screens open of all these exciting things that I want to read to you, and say to you. So here we are. All right, last week we talked about like the time use survey, so be sure to go check that out, like how are Americans really spending their time? And then I gave you 10 AI generated reasons why people don't take care of them, or the reasons people say they don't have time for self-care. Number 1, work commitments. Number 2, family responsibilities. 3, social obligations. 4, financial stress. 5, lack of prioritization. 6, perceived selfishness. 7, overwhelming daily tasks. 8, digital distractions. 9, lack of awareness. And 10, mental health issues. So check that. There's a little bit of description for each one. Then I gave you some reasons from, I did some research, and I found an article from the American Psychological Association, and they talked about 5 hidden beliefs that keep you from taking care of yourself. And these are really good. And the link to the article is in the show notes. Like I feel like the AI generated reasons are things that we probably recognize on some level, but this APA article goes a little bit deeper. So remember, hidden beliefs. Number 1, it is selfish to care for myself. Number 2, strong people sacrifice their needs to meet the needs of others. Number 3, I don't deserve self-care because I have not earned it. Number 4, I don't have time to focus on myself. And number 5, I am controlled by my circumstances. So again, I'm just reading you like the number, but please go check it out and really get in touch with why. And then I did 5 of Tammy's takes. As you all know, I don't like Tami doesn't like people who refer to themselves by their own name. I shouldn't say don't like them. I don't like the practice. But anyway, here are my four takes. Number one, falling prey to societal messages. Number two, unknown social media pressure. Number three, if you do take time, you will give up your identity. And number four, believing that overwork leads to love and respect. So check those out. Today, then, we are going to, because I always believe that starting with the whys and getting in touch with your underlying belief systems, like if you don't do that, how in the world are you going to take the advice that I give you? So that's why we did part one. Now, today, we are going to talk about what to do about it. Ask yourself this question, like, what is stealing your time and joy? And two questions. And the second one is, do I really want time to take care of myself? Like, do I really want it? So my friend Michelle Kicksmiller, who co-hosts the podcast with me from time to time, we are doing a teacher webinar series about teacher and student mental health. And on our last webinar, she sent me this meme that I'm going to share with you. I will put the actual image of it in the show notes, so I'll try to make it clear as I share it with you today. And it involves this woman named Marie Kondo. I didn't know who she was, but apparently she's an organizational guru. So this is a conversation, like a fake conversation between me, you, whoever, and Marie Kondo. Here goes. Marie Kondo, does this item spark joy? Me, no. Marie, does this item spark joy? Me, no, it doesn't. And then parentheses, 3 hours later in an empty house. Me, oh, wait, I have depression. No, that's not for me to laugh about saying someone has depression. And the point she was making was, if nothing sparks joy in your life, then you need to look further to see what's going on. And this was about, because she's an organizational person, she's like, I think her thing is if you pick something up, like I have this pen and it doesn't mean anything to me, then toss it. I'm thinking that works in our lives as well when it comes to our time. If it's not giving you joy, if it's not contributing to, even if it's some type of a goal that you have, reaching a goal should give you some aspect of joy. And if it's not doing that, and especially if it's robbing your joy, then get rid of it, right? So this time, I'm going to go kind of the opposite direction. I'm going to start with my top 5 things that you can do to get your time back, to take care of yourself. And let's see, then I'm going to do an article that I'm just going to read a few things to you from. Again, it's from the APA. And then I'm going to give you 10 activities AI generated that you can do in under 5 minutes to help rejuvenate your mind, take care of yourself. And then 10 that you can do in, I think let's see, what did I say? Under 30 minutes, but still doable, I think, but still reasonable. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So here we go. My top 5. Number 1, admit your limitations. And when I said earlier about the bike, like, I'm not a techie person, and I'm just formulating this as I'm talking because I hadn't really thought about it. The first thing I did on that bike was just to try to do it all myself, figure it out all myself when it wasn't my realm of expertise. Instead of immediately having a chat with or calling the person I bought it from or getting on their website or calling them, I was like, no, let me try this first. No, let me try this first. Well, when I say it stole hours of my time, I mean, hours of my time. And let me go back to, if you remember last part 1, I said what sparked all of this was painting and redecorating my bathroom, like as my own little oasis. And there are pictures of that bathroom in part 1. I haven't really finished it yet, but I just wanted to create a place for myself where I can have like a quiet bath for 15 minutes. It's really 3 or 4 times a week I do 15 minutes. There's just something for me. I know this about myself. You should try to know what sparks joy in you. Warmth. Like, I've had this heating pad on my chair And I just love the sensation of warmth. And so it's a big deal for me. But instead of like paying my friend to do it, I am a financial, like, I can be, look, we lost a lot during COVID and we're still working on that recovery. So I'm very careful with my finances, but still, it wouldn't have cost that much. My friend could have benefited from the money, but I did it myself. I spilled the paint. I hurt my back. The edges at the top looked terrible. I didn't have enough paint to finish the back. I tried to do a stencil to make a border, and that didn't work because I didn't know what I was doing. Now, listen, I'm not saying you should never like do things that are out of your realm of skills. I'm not saying that. But my husband even said to me, he's like, look, you probably shouldn't get on that big ladder anymore because you know that you have some stability issues, blah, blah, blah. But it took me so long to fix everything that I messed up. It took my time away. So, in at least admitting your limitations, like I can be a little bit scattered if I'm booking flights. If I admit that instead of trying to just cover it up, then I'll take more time on the beginning, maybe make sure it's a quiet time when I'm booking, that I have no distractions, because I know that if I don't do that, I'm likely to make a mistake somewhere and then I have to start all over. So, does that make sense? Like, I think, and it was my husband saying to me, I think he used the word, look, know your limitations, admit that, and believe it or not, that's going to allow you to have more time to take care of yourself. Number two, no guilt if you take time for yourself. I paused there for a minute in case you were like, wait, why has she stopped talking? No guilt. The problem with guilt, and I want to say this in such a sensitive way. Well, you know what? Let me remind you that I said this at the part one was we're all in a different stage of life. I'm an empty nester now. And so I don't have the time constraints of having children in the house. If you're taking care of a baby, if you're taking care of an older parent, if you're going back to school, if you're working on a job promotion, I'm working right now on some job things that are taking a lot of my time, all that. So I want to be sensitive to the time constraints that you have. But I'm going to say this, please hear my heart. Everyone has 3 to 15 minutes a day. View that as a start. Okay, do you hear my heart in that? Everyone has a few minutes a day. If we talk about feeling guilty, feeling guilty, feeling guilty, and there's more to that. When you go back to part one, that guilt can come from societal pressures and expectations and all of that, but it could turn into a victim mentality. No, I feel bad. I can't do that, all of that. I've shared this story at some point, but when I was teaching high school, during the summers, I was still very busy because I had small children, but there came a point where they were old enough to take care of themselves. And I remember the day Tim and I had been married well, I only taught for a year after we were married. So it must have been that summer after we got married. The kids ranged from 9 to like 17. So there was, we had a lot of kids in the house, but I had time. I had time. I was working on the house and things like that, but I was on my own time. And I remember sitting on the deck and there were hummingbirds flying around. We had feeders. It was a beautiful morning. The birds were singing. I was reading. And he called me later that day and said, how's your day going? Because he's at work. And I remember saying, well, the kids been yelling and I had to call my mom and blah, 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 blah. I had to do this because I was going to feel guilty if I said to him, it's been a great day. I haven't talked about guilt. I went through my old podcasts and I was like, I don't think I've actually done one on guilt. So I'm going to soon, but I will post a YouTube link. It's pretty old, but it's when I was speaking at a women's conference and I talk about guilt. I want to release you from that. So that's number two. Okay. Number one, admit your limitations. Number two, no guilt. Number three, adjust your view of work. Okay, sometimes our view of work can encompass our entire identity. So if you are working, outside the home for pay, you have a job, maybe you're working in an office or, on location somewhere, or maybe you're hybrid, or maybe you're working fully virtual, fully remote. Adjust your view that your work should encompass all of your time. And that goes back to number two. Therefore, if you're not working, there's this feeling of guilt that you should be. Now, let me say that there are some, there are cultures of work that are high stress, right? Like it's a work culture of stress. They promote stress. Maybe they don't mean to, but they do. So it could be that there's a conversation that needs to be had with the supervisor about, I need to take 10 minutes twice a day and shut off of virtual to just go be off of this computer for a while or whatever it is. Or if you're at work, taking your breaks. It's important to do that. And there are ways to have those conversations. So I think I've posted some links before. If not, I'll post a link to a book. Number four, plan or have a time management tool. It is so eye-opening to have a time management tool. And then when you use it, you find out you have more time than you thought you did. Because in reality, that time use survey shows that we do, I don't even want to call it waste. I'm doing air quotes, waste a lot of time, but we do things that we don't realize that we're doing. And if those things give you joy, great. But if they don't, then we need to adjust that. And number five, avoid anger and resentment at others. I remember speaking at a conference once, talking about my years of teaching, talking about, school. I think it's still 180 days of instruction. And, that's 180 days of instruction. That doesn't include all the other things that teachers do. If you're a teacher, if you're in education, you know what I mean. It takes a lot more of your time. But I remember this woman saying, in front of the room, she said, well, most of us here don't work just 180 days of the year. And she seemed so, or wish I could just have been a teacher. Well, I didn't say this to her, but listen. What I wanted to say was, well, if that's what you want, you can be. I don't mean to be hard-hearted, but when we get angry and resentful at other people, that's a problem. By the way, I told you there were five. There are actually eight because I had a big space after number five. Number six, find a mentor who lives the life that you want. There's a woman that I used to know. She's not really in my life anymore because she moved away a long time ago, but she and her husband they would be considered wealthy, nice house. We went to her house for the first time. And I remember, I mean, it wasn't dirty by any means, but it was like scattered, lived in. And I remember she talked about she was getting ready. It was like a Super Bowl party or something. And I said, well, what can I do? And she said, yeah, come over here and chop onions, or you can do this, or you can do that. And something got spilled. She's like, don't worry, I'll take care of that later. The reason that it spoke to me was this seemed to be, and I got to know her, and she was a woman who valued her time with people. She valued her time enough to say, yes, you can help me with that. Yes, you can do that for me. And so I watched her and I learned from her. Find a mentor. And it could be someone you know, it could be someone you watch. Number seven, ask yourself, do I really want joy out of my life? And I started this section with that question. Do I actually want some joy? Because if we do, no one's really going to come and make that happen for us. And number eight, be careful about the comparison trap. I hope you can see that this is all woven together. The comparison trap. I've got some good friends who, couple of them, well, several of them, and their homes are beautiful and they're well decorated. I've talked to you about this before. My home is clean. I clean every week. I take care of things. I've done that a little bit of painting, but that's not on the top of my priority list. So if I find myself comparing myself to that, that becomes a problem. That steals my time. So I hope these make sense. Number one, admit your limitations. Number two, no guilt if you take time for yourself. Three, adjust your view of your work. Four, plan or have a time management tool. Number five, avoid anger and resentment. Number six, find a mentor. Number seven, ask yourself if you really want some joy because it's something you'll have to take on yourself. And number eight, the comparison trap. Avoid the comparison trap. How was that? Those were mine. I try to make mine deeper. I hope that it was for you. Now let's move on to the APA article. I will post the link to this. I have the PDF, so I'm not sure. I may put the PDF right in the show notes. Otherwise, I'll just post the link. But this is the American Psychological Organization, and it's titled An Action Plan for Self Care. And it's 2 pages, it's a 2 page PDF. And I am going to read to you some of their pointers. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Number one, make a personal and a professional, make personal and professional self-care a priority. Now I'm just going to read these to you. Number two, honestly assess your psychological and physical health. Focus on prevention rather than simply on remedying problems. Okay, prevention instead of remedy. Number three, find time for activities that are personally restorative, like a brisk walk. I'll read some of those in a bit. These aren't numbered, so the first three were easy because they're on the same page, but the next, I'm just going to keep going with the points. I'll try. Number four, avoid isolation. Identify sources of social support and use them. Number five, establish and maintain professional connections that offer an opportunity to discuss the specific nature and challenges of your work. Now, I don't remember the next number. Next, take occupational risks seriously and be aware of the particular risks facing you. Now, this is for psychologists. I think I forgot about that. Next, develop realistic and reasonable expectations about work and your capabilities. Next, pay attention to the need for balance in work, rest, and play. If your schedule is packed, say no. Next, pursue opportunities for intellectual stimulation, some of them out of your profession. And last, take steps to enhance your career satisfaction. So, this is more pointed towards psychologists, but I thought that the tips were so good, I still wanted you to see it. So, we've done mine, we've done some recommendations from the APA. Now, let's do the AI ones. The first are 10 self care activities that you can do in under 5 minutes. I think most of these you're going to have heard of, but it's a good time for you to say, okay, remember I said earlier, it's a start, starting somewhere. Number 9, deep breathing. Number 2, stretching. Oh my gosh, I spend so much of my morning when I get up stretching and it feels so good. Number 3, gratitude journaling. Number 4, hydration. Keep that water with you. Number 5, mindful snacking, paying attention to taste and texture and how it makes you feel. Number 6, listen to music, the type of music that soothes you. Number 7, big aromatherapy. Engage in, you can use oils, scented candles. I've talked about, this is one of my favorites. I'm actually going to put the link in the show notes. It's Scents of the Sun, and it's in my community. And this is called iced apple wine. And I put it on multiple times a day because it makes me happy. Number 8, quick meditation. I've put links in here probably 5 times to the 3-minute, well, I have a meditation playlist now. I'll put a link there for short guided visualization. Number 9, digital detox, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And number 10, positive affirmations, or maybe it's a scripture, something to boost your confidence and foster a positive mindset. All right. I said to someone once in a seminar about my 3-minute mindfulness moment, and they said, I don't have 3 minutes. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Set your alarm for 3 minutes earlier. Take 3 minutes and start there. All right, let's end with 10 activities that you can do in under 30 minutes. And I didn't do, listen, self-care for over that, for you can take the day. There are all kinds of things that you can do. But if you're listening to this, I'm assuming that you have lived in this myth of no time. And so you're probably not going to jump right to, I'm going to take the day off. I'm going to take a weekend. So that's why I'm starting small here. There are 10. Number 1, take a relaxing bath. It says fill it with Epsom salts or oils. I don't know. I mean, I did that. I posted on Facebook. I used a bath bomb, and it said I'll post a picture. The bath bomb, which I haven't used before, said fizzy and bubbly, and it just turned my water black. It wasn't fizzly and bubbly. I had to clean my bathtub. So I don't know how I feel about that because I want to be able to get in my bathtub 3 times a week without having to clean it each time. But I don't know. Maybe once a month I'll do that. Number two, reading. And the research shows that reading fiction actually can improve your mental health, help you be more curious, help you have better relationships because it helps you experience other people's worlds. It's an escape. Number three, a nature walk. We used to live on 5 acres in the woods. Everybody had 5 to 20 acres, and Charlie and I would walk in the woods, or even in our street was in the woods. Here, where we've moved, I mean, I can basically reach out and touch my neighbor. But there are a few little walkways where there's some trees. And if I wanted to, I could go somewhere and take a longer walk. But for me, I love doing things that are as local and close as possible. So I have to take that into account. I love my walks in my neighborhood, and I do like listen for the birds, and I get on the outskirts of the neighborhood and try to see the trees. Number four, yoga or Pilates, which my husband and I are trying to do. Number five, creative arts. Do something that helps with your creativity. Number six, cooking a meal. Okay, it says a healthy meal, and I try to cook a healthy meal. But I'm trying, I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm trying when I'm chopping and cooking to not say to myself, "Oh, how long is this gonna take?" Trying to really embrace it. Number seven, meditation or mindfulness. So that was we talked about under 10 minutes, but you can also do it longer. Home spa treatments, a pedicure, a facial, a manicure, some of those little things you can buy, the gritty sugar scrubs. Nice. Number nine, exercise. We've talked about that. Even when you're not exercising, knowing that you're doing an exercise routine makes you feel better. Do something that you like. I've started on this bike that I did ride it one day without it working, and it was really like riding downhill because it had no tension. But in 10 minutes, I got my pulse up to 100. But I'm rewatching Grey's Anatomy. I've watched Call the Midwife, and it gives me lots of joy. And number 10, journaling. So we talked about journaling early. I think that was one of the tips, maybe under 10 minutes, but you can also write longer and express your thoughts and your feelings. So there you go. We recapped part one, some of the reasons why you might not take care of yourself, the thoughts, the beliefs. And then we started this with my 8 practices that are a little bit deeper to begin taking more time for yourself. And then we did the APA article with some tips. And then we did 10 tips for under 10 minutes and 10 tips for under 30 minutes. Do you feel good? Do you feel like you can go out and tackle the world and not tackle the world? That's not self-care. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. You should take care of yourselves. When I got my PhD, I studied the connection between stress, identity, and language. And one of the classes that I took, I did a study on work-life balance. Now, this class was probably in 2010. I don't know. I graduated in 2013, so it was some way midway in my study. And the class, I did this study on work-life balance and working at home. So I did this thing on people who worked at home pre-pandemic, and there were all these unintended consequences from people working at home. Like the benefits of working at home, right? Were that you could take a little bit more time. You didn't have that commute. You could do better, have more relationships with your friends and family because you were working from home. But then there were all these unintended consequences, like were you seen as a slacker? Would you not take the time that you should be able to benefit from because you were afraid on what people would make you think or think of you? Here we are in 2024. Hybrid work, virtual work has become more integrated in our society. My question to you is, are you still, if you are working remotely, not reaping the benefits? And for those of you that are still working on location or not working, there was this time during our lockdown that people actually talked about, oh my gosh, I realize now how wonderful life can be if I just take a few moments. Let's get back to that. If you saw that benefit during the lockdown and you forgot, or if you never did, let's get to the point where we realize Like, I believe working hard is important, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or whether you do volunteer work or whether you have a job and you whatever. Working, taking care of things is important, but one of those things should be us. So go out there, take care of yourself, and set the precedent for other people, right? Yes, amen. Okay, so ending up today, if you have not joined our Facebook group, A Place for Women, which is private, please do that. If you haven't followed me publicly on my Facebook page, I don't do a ton, but that's the main place that I communicate. Please comment, share, download, rate. All of those things help our community, and I appreciate those who are doing that so much. And that's it for today. And so, let me start again. Until we're together next time, consider yourself hugged.